My name is Sophia Marie Ellis. I still remember the way the late August light used to spill across the kitchen table, golden and lazy, like warm honey. That's where I'd sit every Saturday morning with my sketch pad, designing the invitations I'd dreamed about since I was 12. White cardstock, soft blush ink, tiny pressed violets sealed inside each envelope. Mom would be at the stove flipping blueberry pancakes, humming off-key to whatever old country song crackled from the radio. Dad was already out in the garage, tinkering with his vintage Mustang, the one he swore he'd drive me away in after the ceremony. Life felt stitched together with those small, perfect moments. I was 27, engaged to the man who'd been my lab partner in sophomore chem, the one who still laughed at my terrible puns. Ethan. We'd saved for 2 years, every overtime shift, every skipped girls' trip, because Mom insisted on paying for the venue. "It's tradition," she'd said, squeezing my hand so hard her rings left little crescents in my skin. "Let me give you the day you deserve, Soph." I'd grown up in that house on Maple Crest, the one with the crooked mailbox and the porch swing that creaked like it was telling secrets. Mom ran the local boutique downtown. Silk scarves, overpriced candles, the kind of place brides-to-be wandered into and left lighter in the wallet but heavier in hope. She'd always been the sun we all orbited. Dad called her the General. I just called her Mom. She'd raised me alone after Dad's heart attack when I was 9, turning grief into hustle, turning hustle into a story people told at book club. You know Lisa Ellis? Lost her husband, still threw the best block parties in town? I idolized her, wanted to be her, wanted her to be proud. Ethan proposed on the pier at Lake Harrison, right as the fireworks started. I said yes before he'd even opened the ring box. We set the date for October 12th, peak foliage, just enough chill for cashmere wraps. Mom cried when I showed her the ring. Real tears, the kind that smudge mascara into tiny raccoon rings. "My baby," she kept whispering, like I was still the gap-toothed kid who needed Band-Aids on both knees. She booked the country club the next week, paid the deposit herself. "No arguments," she said, waving off my protests. "This is my gift." The weeks blurred, dress shopping with my maid of honor, Jenna, my roommate from college who could make anyone laugh until their ribs hurt, cake tastings where Ethan snuck extra forks of lemon raspberry just to watch my eyes roll back. Mom was in every frame, pinning fabric samples to my bedroom wall, texting me floral mock-ups at 2 a.m., calling the caterer to demand real butter, not that margarine nonsense. I'd fall asleep to the sound of her voice on the other end of the phone, planning. I felt like the luckiest girl alive. Then came the Thursday that tasted like metal. I was at the printers, finalizing the invitations. The clerk slid the proof across the counter. Elegant script, our names intertwined like vines. My phone buzzed. Mom. I answered with a grin, expecting another frantic question about chair sashes. "Sophia." Her voice was flat, the way it got when she was about to deliver bad news wrapped in steel. "We need to talk about the wedding." I laughed. "We've been talking about the wedding for 6 months, Mom." A pause, the kind that stretches until it snaps. "I'm pulling the funding." The world tilted. The fluorescent lights overhead buzzed louder, like hornets. "What?" I said, "We're not paying for this circus." Each word deliberate, sharpened. "It's gotten out of hand. The guest list, the string quartet, the custom linens. Do you know how much those cost? I'm not bankrupting myself for one day." My mouth opened, closed. The clerk pretended to rearrange paper samples. "But you booked the venue. You told me—" "I told you I'd handle it. I didn't tell you I'd go broke doing it." A bitter laugh. "Your father's medical bills are still hanging over my head, Sophia. I thought you'd be reasonable." Reasonable. The word lodged in my throat like a fishbone. "We cut the quartet weeks ago. The linens were on sale." "Don't argue with me." Her tone sliced clean. "I've already called the club. Deposit's non-refundable, but the rest is off. You want a wedding? Pay for it yourselves." The line went dead. I stood there, proof sheet trembling in my hand. The violets looked suddenly childish. Outside, the sky had turned the color of a healing bruise. I don't remember driving home, just the wipers smearing rain across the windshield, my reflection fractured in every drop. Ethan found me on the bathroom floor, knees to chest, invitation proofs scattered like fallen leaves. He didn't ask what happened, just wrapped me in the afghan my grandmother knit the year I was born. I cried until my ribs ached, told him everything. He listened, jaw tight, thumbs stroking my knuckles in slow circles. "She can't do this," he said finally. Voice low, dangerous calm. "Not 3 weeks out." She already did. We called the vendors. Most were kind, some weren't. The photographer offered a discount, out of pity. The florist sighed like we were inconveniencing her life. Mom refused to take my calls. Texts went unanswered. I left voicemails that cracked halfway through. "Please, Mom, talk to me." Nothing. Jenna showed up with wine and a plan. "We downsize," she said, spreading spreadsheets across my coffee table. "Backyard ceremony, food truck, borrowed dress. We make it work." But every compromise felt like swallowing glass. This wasn't just a party. It was the day I'd scripted in diaries since middle school, the day Mom was supposed to walk me down the aisle, tears in her eyes, whispering, "You look like magic, baby girl." Instead, she'd turned it into a budget line she could erase. I stopped sleeping, replayed her words on loop until they lost meaning. Circus, bankrupt, reasonable. I'd lie awake watching shadows crawl across the ceiling, Ethan's breathing steady beside me, and feel something harden in my chest. Not rage, something colder, precise. That's when the idea took root. The next morning, the house smelled like burnt coffee and betrayal. I sat at the kitchen island, laptop open, Ethan still asleep upstairs. My eyes were puffy, but my hands were steady. I opened the spreadsheet Mom had sent months ago, her master budget. Every vendor, every line item, color-coded in her favorite shade of coral. I stared at it until the numbers blurred. Then I started typing. First call, the Country Club. "Hi, this is Sophia Ellis. My mother, Lisa Ellis, booked the venue for October 12th. She mentioned canceling the contract yesterday. Could you confirm the terms?" The manager's voice was syrupy. "Oh, honey, the deposit's locked in, but the balance is due 30 days prior. If it's not paid, we re-release the date." 30 days. We had 21. Second call, the boutique. Mom's assistant, Marla, picked up on the second ring. "Lisa's in a meeting, sweetie." I could hear the clink of hangers in the background. "Actually, Marla, I need a favor. Mom's been overwhelmed. Could you pull the receipts for the wedding-related purchases? Dresses, accessories, the works. Email them to me?" A pause. "She asked you to handle it?" I let my voice crack just enough. "She's not herself lately." Marla sighed motherly. "Of course, hun. Sending now." By noon, I had a folder labeled evidence, deposits, invoices, a scanned check from Mom's personal account for the string quartet she'd later called frivolous. I printed everything. The printer whirred like it was whispering secrets. Ethan found me cross-legged on the rug, papers fanned out like tarot cards. "What is this?" "Insurance," I said. My voice didn't shake anymore. That night, Jenna came over with Thai takeout and a bottle of Prosecco we didn't open. We sat on the porch, fireflies blinking like faulty Christmas lights. "You're scaring me, Soph," she said, nudging my knee. "This isn't you." I watched a moth batter itself against the porch light. Maybe it is. The plan formed in fragments. Mom thrived on image. Her boutique's Instagram had 42K followers, all local influencers sipping rosé at her trunk shows. She'd built her brand on being the fairy godmother of Willow Creek. Brides posted tear-streaked selfies in her dressing rooms. "Lisa made my dream come true." I'd grown up in those captions. Now I'd weaponize them. Step 1, the dress. Mom had insisted on designing it herself. Ivory silk, hand-beaded bodice, a train that pooled like spilled cream. She'd bragged about it at book club, at Pilates, at the grocery store. My daughter's gown, one of a kind. I called the seamstress, Mrs. Delgado, who'd sewn for Mom for 15 years. Lisa wants to pivot, I lied smoothly. She's decided on something. Simpler. Could you box up the original and deliver it to the boutique? She'll explain. Mrs. Delgado hesitated. She didn't mention... She's swamped, I cut in. You know how she gets before a launch. A beat. Of course, mija. Step 2. The guest list. Mom had hijacked it. Added her clients, her yoga friends, the mayor's wife who'd once bought a $300 scarf. I exported the spreadsheet, trimmed it to the bone. Ethan's grandparents, my college roommates, Jenna's brother who'd officiate. 100 souls max. I drafted an email from Mom's address. Her password was still Sophia 998, like a joke she'd never changed. Subject, important update, wedding plans evolved. Body, warm, apologetic, citing family health concerns, and a desire for intimacy. I BCC'd myself before hitting send. The replies flooded in. Confusion, sympathy. A few passive-aggressive, of course, whatever you need. Mom would see them eventually. I wanted her to. Step 3. The venue. I called the club again, this time as myself. We're scaling back, I said. Backyard ceremony, reception in the garden room. Can you prorate? The manager quoted a number that made Ethan whistle low when I told him. We could cover it, barely, if we cashed in our honeymoon fund. Do it, he said. No hesitation. Mom finally called on day 5. I let it ring twice before answering. Sophia Marie? What the hell is going on? Her voice was a live wire. Mrs. Delgado dropped off a wedding dress like I'd ordered takeout. And these emails, people think I'm dying. I pressed the phone to my ear, watched rain streak the window like tears I refused to shed. You said it was a circus, Mom. I'm just downsizing the tent. Don't you dare play games with me. I'm not. You pulled the plug. I'm building something smaller, more authentic. A pause. You're welcome to come, or not. She hung up. The dress arrived at the boutique in a garment bag the color of storm clouds. I drove there at dusk, the streets slick with fallen leaves. Marla met me at the back door, eyes wide. Your mom's on a rampage. Said to hold this until she sorted you out. I unzipped the bag. The gown shimmered under the fluorescent lights, every bead a tiny star. I ran my fingers over the bodice, felt the ghost of Mom's pride stitched into every seam. List it, I told Marla. Sample sale. 50% off. Tag it designer exclusive, 1 day only. Her mouth opened, closed. She'll kill me. She won't, I said. She'll be too busy. I posted it myself from the boutique's account. Mom had given me admin access for emergencies last Christmas. The photo, the dress on a mannequin, train cascading like a waterfall. Caption, dream gown, dream price. Available tomorrow, 10 a.m. First come, first served. Lisa Ellis Bridal, sample sale. I tagged every local bride group, every wedding planner within 50 miles. By morning, the post had 3,000 likes. A line formed outside the boutique before sunrise. Girls in yoga pants clutching coffee, mothers with binders. Mom arrived at 9:57, face pale beneath her signature red lipstick. She saw the crowd, saw the dress in the window, saw me standing beside it in jeans and Ethan's flannel. Our eyes locked through the glass. For a second, she looked small. The boutique doors opened at 10 sharp. The bell chimed like a gunshot. Mom stood frozen on the sidewalk, scarf whipping in the wind, while brides surged past her like a tide. I didn't move, just watched her reflection in the window. Red coat, clenched jaw, eyes wide with something between panic and fury. Marla fluttered beside me, twisting her apron. "Lisa, I thought this was what you wanted." Mom cut her off with a look sharp enough to slice silk. Then she marched straight to me, heels clicking like accusations. "Take it down," she hissed, low enough the crowd wouldn't hear. "Now." I smiled, small and polite. "It's already sold." Her face drained of color. "You don't have the authority." "Actually, I do." I pulled up the boutique's admin panel on my phone, turned the screen to her. My name, still listed as co-manager. "You never removed me after the holiday rush, remember? You said, 'Family helps family.'" A bride squealed behind us. She'd snagged the veil. Another held the train up to the light, gasping at the beadwork. Mom's beadwork. Her legacy, marked down to bound $200. She grabbed my wrist, nails digging in. "Outside. Now." I let her pull me through the back door into the alley. The air smelled like wet cardboard and exhaust. "You're humiliating me," she said, voice shaking. "In front of my clients. My reputation." "Your reputation?" I laughed, short and bitter. "You canceled my wedding 3 weeks out. You called it a circus, remember?" "I was protecting us." "From what? Happiness?" I stepped closer. "You didn't ask what I wanted. You decided, like always." She flinched. For the first time, I saw cracks in the armor, eyes glassy, lipstick feathering at the edges. "I'm drowning, Sophia," she whispered. "The boutique's bleeding money. Your father's bills. I thought if I scaled back—" "You thought you'd control it." I softened, just enough. "But you didn't ask me to help. You just burned it down." Silence stretched between us, thick as the fog rolling off the river. Then I reached into my pocket, pulled out the folded check I'd written that morning, our honeymoon fund, every penny. "Here." I pressed it into her hand. "For the deposit you lost. I'm not your charity case." She stared at the paper like it was on fire. "Where did you—" "Doesn't matter." I turned to go. "The dress is gone. The venue's booked. The wedding's happening, with or without you." Inside, the last bride walked out clutching the garment bag like a trophy. Mom stayed in the alley, check trembling in her fist. The days that followed were a blur of quiet rebellion. Ethan and I moved the ceremony to our backyard, the one with the crooked maple and the fairy lights we'd strung for Jenna's graduation party. We rented folding chairs from the church, borrowed tables from Ethan's aunt. Jenna's brother got ordained online for $20. The caterer? A food truck that specialized in gourmet grilled cheese, comfort food, not caviar. I didn't invite Mom, but I didn't not invite her either. Her name stayed on the digital RSVP, a ghost in the maybe column. The night before the wedding, I sat on the porch steps stringing paper lanterns. Ethan was inside, arguing with the sound system. Fireflies blinked in the dark like slow-motion paparazzi. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "It's Marla. Your mom's been crying in the stockroom all week. She won't admit it, but she checks the boutique's Instagram every hour, saw the new posts." I opened the app. I'd been live streaming the prep, Jenna spray painting mason jars gold, Ethan's dad wrestling with a tarp, hashtag Ellis Backyard Bliss. 8,000 views and climbing. Comments poured in. "This is what love looks like. Take notes, fancy venues." Another text. "She's coming tomorrow, alone, didn't tell anyone." I stared at the screen until the words blurred. Then I typed back, "Gates open." October 12th dawned crisp and golden. Leaves the color of Merlot drifted across the grass. Guests arrived in flannel and boots, clutching mugs of cider. Jenna walked down the aisle first, bouquet of grocery store daisies tied with twine. Ethan waited under the maple, eyes shining like he'd won the lottery. I wore a simple lace dress I'd found at a thrift store, $42, altered by Mrs. Delgado in secret. No train, no beads, just me. Halfway through the vows, I saw her. Mom stood at the back fence, red coat stark against the greenery. She hadn't come through the gate, just watched from the shadows, hands clasped so tight her knuckles were white. Our eyes met. She didn't smile, but she didn't leave. When the officiant said, "You may kiss the bride," Ethan dipped me like we'd practiced in the living room, and the backyard erupted. Someone popped champagne. The food truck's bell dinged. I laughed into Ethan's shoulder, tasting salt and citrus and relief. Later, during the grilled cheese course, Jenna nudged me. "She's still here." I followed her gaze. Mom stood near the dessert table, holding a plate she hadn't touched. I walked over, barefoot in the grass. "You came." She looked up, eyes red-rimmed. I couldn't not. A pause. The dress. I saw the girl who bought it. She cried when she tried it on. I nodded. "Good." Another silence. Then, "I was wrong." The words came out scraped raw. "I thought if I controlled it, I'd protect you, like I protected you from everything else." I swallowed. "I didn't need protecting. I needed you to trust me." She looked at the fairy lights, the mismatched chairs, the joy spilling everywhere. "This is beautiful." "It's ours," I said. "Not yours to fund, not yours to cancel." She left before the cake cutting. Didn't say goodbye. But the next morning, a package arrived. White box, coral ribbon. Inside, the original veil, cleaned and pressed. A note in her handwriting. "For the daughter who taught me grace costs less than pride." I wore it for the photos. Just for one. The honeymoon was a long weekend in a lakeside cabin we'd booked with credit card points. Nothing like the Parisian suite Mom had once circled in a magazine. We ate cereal for dinner, made love with the windows open to the sound of loons, and didn't check our phones for 3 days. When we got back, the backyard still smelled like wood smoke and cinnamon from the bonfire toasts. The folding chairs were stacked in the garage, the fairy lights tangled in a plastic bin labeled "Sophia's Wedding, Do Not Touch" in Ethan's blocky handwriting. Life felt lighter, like someone had opened a window in a room I didn't know was stuffy. Then the video went viral. Jenna had filmed the whole thing on her phone. Grainy, vertical, real. She posted it to TikTok with the caption, "When your mom cancels your wedding but you marry him anyway." No music, just the crunch of leaves under my bare feet. Ethan's voice cracking on, "I do." The collective gasp when the food truck flipped its first sandwich. Within a week, 2 million views. Comments flooded in like confetti. "This is the most wholesome thing I've seen all year. Mom needs therapy, not a venue. That dress in the thrift store was $42. I'm crying." The boutique's Instagram DMs exploded. Brides tagging Mom. "Is this the same Lisa Ellis who made that sample sale gown?" Local news picked it up. A lifestyle blog ran the headline, "Willow Creek Bride Turns Heartbreak into Backyard Magic." They quoted me without asking. "Sometimes love doesn't need a budget. It just needs yes." Mom called on a Tuesday, voice thin. "Turn on Channel 7. I did. There she was, live outside the boutique, microphone in her face. The reporter, "Lisa, your daughter's wedding has become a sensation. Any comment on the unconventional funding?" Mom's smile was plastic. "Every family has growing pains. I'm proud of Sophia's creativity." The clip ended with her waving like a politician. I muted the TV and felt nothing. 2 days later, an envelope slid under our door. Thick cream paper, Mom's boutique letterhead. Inside, a check for the exact amount of the country club deposit, plus a post-it. "For the honeymoon you deserved. No strings." I stared at it until Ethan took it from my fingers. "Cash it or burn it," he said. "Your call." I cashed it, bought plane tickets to Lisbon, left the post-it on the fridge like a museum label. The payback wasn't the check. It was the silence that followed. Mom stopped posting on Instagram. The boutique's feed went dark for 9 days, unheard of. When it came back, the first photo was the empty mannequin where my dress used to hang. Caption, Sometimes the best stories aren't for sale. 14K likes. Half the comments were crying emojis. I ran into her at the farmer's market in November. She was buying apples, hair in a messy bun, no lipstick. I had a pumpkin under one arm, Ethan's hand in the other. We locked eyes across the squash display. "Hi," I said. "Hi." She shifted her bag. "Lisbon was beautiful this time of year?" It was. A beat. Then, "I kept the veil." "I know." She nodded once, walked away without buying the apples. The final stitch came in December. The boutique hosted its annual holiday open house, mulled wine, string quartet, the one she'd cut from my wedding, influencers in sequins. I wasn't invited, but Jenna was. She sent me a photo, Mom standing beside a new display, my thrift store lace dress, cleaned and pressed, on a mannequin under soft lights. A placard read, "The Sophia gown, $42, all proceeds to the local women's shelter." Underneath, in Mom's handwriting, "For every bride who builds her own, yes." I zoomed in until the pixels blurred. The dress looked smaller than I remembered, like it had shrunk to fit the truth. Years later, Ethan and I still get recognized in grocery store aisles. "You're the backyard bride." Kids at our daughter's preschool ask if the fairy lights are real. I tell them yes, then I tell them the part I never put online. Revenge isn't loud. It's the moment your mother sees your happiness and realizes it never needed her permission. Sometimes, when the porch swing creaks at night, I swear I hear her humming that old country song, not asking forgiveness, just acknowledging the melody changed, and I let it play.